going to hand it over to George now, who's going to moderate this session, and take it away, boys.
Thanks very much, Kate. I've got Mr. MacCallum sitting opposite me, so we're still on technical issues. Anyway, my name's George Blake, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm live from Tokyo, sitting outside the Tokyo Swallows baseball stadium and the new Olympic stadium. We've got a short time frame, so we're going to try and keep it fairly tight. I'm going to ask our panelists to just spend a quick 60 seconds introducing themselves. So who's up first? I can see Mr. Lynch, Tom Lynch. Why don't you go first, mate?
Thank you very much, George and Katie. Thanks for having me. Hope everybody's good around the world. So yeah, I'm Tom Lynch. I'm Director of Business Development for ASM Global in Europe. ASM Global is the world's leading venue operator with over 325 venues on 5 continents around the world. So we manage stadiums, arenas, convention centres and theatres for a range of different clients and partners, including many of the world's best sports teams and brands. So I'm delighted to be here and to talk about this exciting topic. So look forward to it. Thank you.
Many thanks, Tom. I can see Guy, if you could go next for a quick introduction, Guy.
Thanks, George. Morning, everybody. I'm Guy Dunstan, Managing Director of Ticketing and Arenas for the NEC Group in Birmingham, UK. So the NEC Group, we run the National Exhibition Centre, the International Convention Centre, and I run the 2 arenas in Birmingham, the Utilita Arena, which is in Birmingham City Centre, and Resorts World Arena on the National Exhibition Centre site, both 15,500 plus venues. I also run our ticketing business, the Ticket Factory, and our hospitality business, Amplify.
Thank you, Guy. I'm looking for Tom McCann. I can't see him, but I'm sure he's there. Tom, somewhere down in London, Emirates Way.
That's right. Thanks, George. Yeah, I'm Tom McCann. I'm the venue director for Arsenal. So I have responsibility for our ticketing business as well as our premium business, and effectively all commercial revenues coming into this venue itself.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. And finally, to my colleague, Mr. David MacCallum.
Thank you, George. Appreciate that. Sorry, guys, a few technical issues. There's always a long queue in Japan, but we got through that. I'm commercial director at SDH Group, so look after the remit of business development globally, sales, marketing, customer relations. So at the moment, based in Tokyo, as I've mentioned, the family out here, and 4 years now, so most of us are fairly fluent, including my 4-year-old in Japanese. That was the idea anyway, but unfortunately that actually hasn't happened. But pleased to be here and great to see everyone.
Thank you, David. So the topic obviously is the future of premium seating. What we're going to do is to run a couple of questions. We're going to start with what each individual panelist's definition is of premium seating, because it's a little bit different depending on what you're doing and where you are in the world. So if we start with what does premium seating mean to you in Arsenal, Tom, maybe you can give us a little bit of a remit, please.
Yeah, sure, no problem, George. So I think premium seating to us, I guess it's important to contextualize who we serve when it comes to premium seating. And I think there's maybe a bit of a misconception that premium seating means corporate. And it doesn't, at least not always, and not for Arsenal. So, I mean, about 75% of our premium members would just be Arsenal fans. These are private individuals who happen to have a bit more disposable cash, or in some cases don't, but they don't want to wait 10 years for a GA season ticket and are prepared to pay for it through finance. So for us, it's a range of things from our entry level on club level, which is the intention there is that it's an informal style of dining. Our members, they get a halftime drink, they get a program, and then access to all the kind of bars and kiosks, right through to the Diamond Club at the very top, where Raymond Blanc is the chef patron, and it's an exquisite five course menu. So it's a range of things, but I think the most important thing for us all the way through is that it's an Arsenal experience, because all of our members at all levels, even in the Diamond Club, are almost exclusively just Arsenal fans. So it's really important to us in defining our premium experience to make sure it's always connected to the club, be it the legends, the invincible, the birthplace of the football club, anything that that kind of ties the fan to the actual club itself.
Thank you, Tom. Guy, in NEC Arenas up in Birmingham.
Yeah, so not dissimilar. In our venues, we define premium seating as anything we can charge a premium fee over and above the standard ticket price. So generally, you know, those seats will have access to private bar, a suite, or a restaurant. And we have different levels ranging from an entry level sort of price point, which enables access to a private VIP suite or bar. And that's been a real growth area for us. In fact, we developed a 170 capacity VIP seating deck with access to a premium bar immediately behind it just before lockdown. And we see that, as I say, as a real growth area. But then, you know, the more traditional sort of club seating for our members with access to a restaurant. We've got a variety of 3 levels of membership. And also offer access to restaurants for non-members as well, and then right up to our private boxes at our facilities. But in the arena market, what I would say is that from a premium point of view, flexibility is absolutely key, because we don't have the same product day to day. We don't have the same audience profiles day to day. So from one day to the next, it could be an Andre Rieu concert for a mature audience, and the next day Iron Maiden or Drake the day after. So, you know, the key thing in our market is, when we're looking at premium, is how we can meet the price point, the audience profiles, and the demands and opportunities for each of those sort of audience profiles that we're attracting.
Thank you, Guy. Flexibility has been mentioned a couple of times, so sounds like that's a bit of a theme. Over to our other Tom up, I believe you might be in Manchester way, I'm not sure, but up in ASM world, Mr. Tom Lynch.
Yeah, that's right. Now I'm over in Manchester. Thank you, George. Yeah, so I suppose similar to Tom and to Guy, we run a lot of arenas, and definitely flexibility is key. I think, you know, what is premium to us is probably it's an opportunity first and foremost, because you're blessed with a customer who's willing to spend more of their hard-earned money on something that's not just the core proposition of, you know, stage or pitch products. So for us, it's an opportunity to be innovative and creative in how we deliver an experience, and it's certainly not about seating. You know, I think whether we're in an arena or a stadium, actually it's about how we create experiences, and I think it comes down to trying to find ways to create a platform for memories. You know, it might not be corporate, as Tom said. I think more and more it's moving away from that, even in a corporate environment. Actually, selling to corporates, they don't want it to feel corporate. They want it to feel more like something that they're taking their mates to. So I think that's the way it's moving for us, is moving away from boxes and seating and the benches, and into more flexible packages that can do more things. So as Guy said, it'll be very different from Andre Rieu to WWE, but equally it might be different from client to client as well, and I think that's key.
Great, thank you, Tom. Looking across the table to Mr. MacCallum, I'm going to hand over to him now to give us a bit of insight into the world here.
Thank you, George. Yeah, similar to the guys, actually, you've heard a bit of it there already. But I suppose when we came out to Japan, there was a little bit of education that was required, particularly considering that in Japan, the concept of sports hospitality hasn't really, or it's not as sophisticated as it is in the international markets, or as we know it in the UK or Australia or the US. So when we introduced hospitality products for these, and what we've been working on in here is Rugby World Cup 2019 and the official hospitality program, and equally now onto this Tokyo 2020/21 in-venue hospitality. And, you know, we thought that we could potentially just create the products and understand the market. And I remember one of the first meetings I had just describing the experience that we could offer, and I remember after probably halfway through the meeting, realizing that I had to take it back a step and actually explain what hospitality is and what premium seating was here. So that was one of the challenges, I guess. But when we talk about a specific premium seat product in our world, in the sort of project world here, that's something that we've found has plugged the gap for us. So when I talk about a premium seat, that's something between a general public ticket and a full-blown hospitality experience. So still including a top category A ticket, but you know, it's an in-seat experience where you can have a cooler bag, or depending on where you're from, a chili bin or an esky or whatever you want to put that in terms of something that you can have in the seat with a bento box, a couple of beers and water bottles and commemorative gifts and things like that. And I think in the end, the stats for us in Japan was somewhere near 50% of our inventory went through this product that we sat in between the general public ticket and a full-blown hospitality experience. So being useful here, understanding the market, but also seeing what the opportunities were with some of these new products that we could bring in.
Thank you, David. Right. If we move on now to the specific subject of our session, the future of premium seating, what do the panelists see in their particular areas for the future? Let's go to Manchester. Tom.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's probably for us, it's trying to move beyond what happens in the bowl, and actually trying to find ways to create a spectacle and an experience away from you know, pre, post and during, actually away from what's happening on stage. Because I think, you know, for us there's an interesting kind of future proofing here, which is thinking about what hospitality and premium is through the eyes of a 16 or 18-year-old right now. And I think we're going to find it's going to be very, very different in 5 to 10 years time, when you know, the types of startup businesses and the types of individuals really that want a premium experience are kind of coming through as customers for us. And it's just a very, very different world. You know, everything's in clips and you know, Insta moments rather than, you know, hours and 2 hours at a time. Just a very, very different culture societally, and I think that will come through in what we have to deliver as experiences. So I think we'll be trying to find ways to create other views, you know, other spectacles, more networking, more kind of unique atmosphere areas. So it's not just about lounges, it's not just about the best view, best seats in the house, it's about what happens when you come in. You know, the entrance experience is probably going to be more important in the future than ever before. You know, someone mentioned memorabilia. I think, you know, physical and digital memorabilia to show that you were there, you know, being there is the main thing. So I think for me that the future is about how people are going to engage in sport and entertainment. And I think the young people, you know, the future generations are going to value experiences. They value experiences over products, which is a good thing, but we need to think about how they want to experience them. And I think that's going to be entirely different to people of the generations on this call.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, that digital content that we're all trying to grapple with. Well, at least the generation that's on this call, perhaps. Tell me, Guy, we had a conversation last week. You had some interesting ideas in terms of where you're headed.
Yeah, so we've been clearly looking at the future, as any business in our sector is, and looking at where, you know, the future of premium lies for us. And as I said earlier, we'd already taken steps in terms of redeveloping some of our space to meet where we see the market sort of demands of the future. And what we're seeing is that customers really want to experience a premium experience and offer, but in a shared experience format. So back in the sort of 20, 30 years ago when I entered this business, it was all very much about private hospitality boxes, 3-course meals in a restaurant away from the arena bowl. And what we're seeing now is a real drive towards shared experiences in open plan spaces. And we're actually we've been creating spaces where we've been removing our boxes and creating open plan decks, as I said earlier on, which we did at Utility Arena. And just before lockdown, we got planning consent to redevelop Resorts World Arena, increase the capacity of that arena. And the key driver in the business case was actually the premium space that we were going to create, and we'll hopefully be picking up in the future. It's on the project's on pause at the moment as we're in lockdown, but the focus of that is to capitalize on the space we're going to create and creating more capacity for people to be able to elevate their experience, giving us the ability to find a price point that people can meet that. And as Tom was saying, the demands of consumers moving forward and the next generation of customers are looking for a very different experience to what customers in the past would have looked for. And that was really for us to look at how we can capitalize on that change in the market, still being able to deliver the more traditional offers and having the space in the market for that, and the really high-end premium offers. But by enabling that increased capacity, we saw it as a real driver to grow revenue, to grow the customer base who want to experience the premium offer, and also making sure that it was focused on that shared experience sort of mentality.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. Hopefully that capital expenditure going upwards, not increasing your footprint, I understand, happens fairly shortly. I'll hand over to David now, across the table. The future, David.
Yeah, thanks, George. I think from a point of view from SDH Group and working with large events and with rights holders, I think looking at a simple set of choices for customers. So a line of products that hang together comfortably with them. So by that I mean you have general public tickets, and it's something I suppose we've been trying to link more seamlessly with the hospitality program. So again, I go back to that, that bit that product that fits somewhere in between. So it is that simple journey that understands, and if it's together, from going from general public ticket to a sort of a ticket plus into that hospitality and that gradual stepping stone, that I think is a better customer experience. And I think more often than not, particularly with a lot of the examples we've had, there are two different entities running the general public ticketing, and there's also then the other entity that's running the official hospitality program or the travel program. So I think having that seamless choice is key, and alongside that is that whole digital journey that that can be easily picked up in for customers to log on, to see what options they've got in a simple hierarchy and make an easy choice. Again, if we use the premium seat in our world, in that sort of GA plus ticket between ticketing and hospitality, there needs to still be that top category ticket. There still needs to be the easy access. There still needs to be that early priority, and I think that is going to become a lot more of a normal place to have products that are across all those price points. I think what we found from a supplier side as well is that, particularly in Japan, there's been limited spaces, there's been limited boxes, there's been limited hospitality space. We've had to be inventive, and by fixing I suppose a problem that was a logistical problem, that turned into really unearthing a bigger, wider market that could be easily accessed and still pay that premium price. So if you get that balance right, I think you can really drive more revenue, but it's by starting at looking at that product mix and getting that right. That's probably my view on where it's going with in our world with rights holders.
Thank you, David. We finish up with Tom at Emirates Stadium. Over to you, Tom.
Sure, thanks, George. I think in terms of looking at what the future looks like for us, I think we certainly say similar to I think what Tom and Guy were saying, that there's been a shift towards informal dining, informal hospitality, and away from formal. And I think that's true, but I think it's also that shift is towards flexibility and towards choice. When you think at the moment, at any given time, almost sort of day or night, you can You can access any song you want through Spotify, any movie you want through Netflix, and order food, lunch or dinner from 50 different places through Deliveroo. These are the other places where our fans, our members, our consumers are spending their money, and we need to be reactive to that and offer the same kind of flexibility and the same kind of choice that they're getting elsewhere. So that means making sure that we have a really versatile product offering. So we did similarly to what it sounds like Guy's done, in that we consolidated 14 executive boxes 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, to create one kind of super lounge that offered the intermediary, and that it was high-end hospitality, but it was done informally. And that was extremely popular, sold out in its first year, and we'll never know quite how popular because we didn't get to renew it when COVID struck last year. But offering that kind of agility and that kind of flexibility is going to be really important going forward. The other thing, where again your Spotify's and Netflixes and Deliveroo's are way ahead, is in the digital piece, and there is an expectation increasingly that our fans can do anything they want from their phones, so that they should be able to buy, sell, exchange, transfer tickets, access the stadium through their mobile device. And as it relates to premium, if they're in boxes or if they're in restaurants or lounges, be able to order food and drink to their table, order a replica shirt, book a stadium tour. These are all things that people are expecting to do. And with that comes an expectation of greater connectivity. And that's obviously a challenge when you have to try and retrofit that into existing buildings. But I completely agree with what Tom was saying, in that it's Gen Z right now that are going to be our premium purchases not too far from now, and we need to make sure that we're reacting to the way that they're engaging with content, the way that they're spending their income.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, I think there's some themes coming out from all of our panelists today. Certainly, flexibility and informality seems to be a key driver across all of the venues and the projects that we're looking at, and certainly digital, whatever that means. Certainly for us over here in Tokyo for the Olympic Games, we're looking beyond to 24 in Paris and Milan 26 and LA, and that digital journey in terms of that marketing promotion, and then when the client guest does spend, and then the touch points along that guest experience all the way to the event and the post event, and that capturing of that data, and data is key as we know. Katie, I know that we were going to look at a Q&A session for any of the participants to launch questions for the panelists. Are you there?
I am here. I'd just actually gone for a powder room break, so that was quite opportune. Yeah, I suppose just, obviously I know you've been covering sort of premium seating and, sort of obviously what's going on. But I suppose, for you guys in Japan, George and David, for you, what sort of does the new norm premium seating, is it going to look like in Japan? And then, going back then to the two Toms and Guy, what will premium seating look like when you guys reopen, fingers crossed, on June the 21st? Everyone goes quiet.
I think, Katie, thanks for that question. I think it's probably a simple one here, because I think we look at, as I mentioned earlier, sports hospitality is still in its infancy here, and it sounds ridiculous because Japan does fantastic hospitality and food and the way that you're greeted and hosted. And that's got some fantastic sporting events that go on, and a lot of people, 30 odd million people within Tokyo particularly to attend these events, but they just didn't seem to have, or they haven't seemed to have put together the concept of both bringing that food and premium element to the sporting environment. And I think that's where the real opportunity's been here. We have found out that it's been, quite a challenging road in working in that culture. But I think the future is definitely, there is a hospitality industry that can be sustainable here, and that's obviously one of our key objectives, is to ensure that SDH Japan is beyond Tokyo 2020, and we're already seeing that with a few deals that we're getting closed now, which is great, and that brings a marketplace here, which educates the opportunities that are also global, and we can send outbound as well internationally. So probably stripping it back to its basics and just explaining what is that premium seat opportunity, but then also where else can that be taken and marketed. So that's probably from our side here in Japan.
And then Tom or Guy, do you want to take up the baton?
I don't mind going. Yeah, I'll first Tom first. So yeah, I think first of all, there's going to be some challenge on the other side of this for existing clients and corporates. Clearly, depending on whether we're in a recession or a depression or somewhere in between, there's going to be some pressure points on corporate spending. But actually, out of the pandemic, there's been some winners. There's been some huge growth industries, and I think it's certainly not all doom and gloom from our side in terms of what the corporate side looks like. And I think there's some parallels with corporate meetings and conferencing as well, because everybody's been sat at home for over a year, not getting together. Salespeople haven't been out on the road. People haven't been going to networking events. There's been a real dearth of kind of commercial activity in every market, really. So I think we'll find that there will be a bit of a renaissance on corporate hospitality, and just on people wanting to spend more and really make the most of their experiences on the non-corporate hospitality, because people have really missed those sorts of experiences, and there'll be a high demand as well. So we know that when there's a high demand, we can make the most of that with the supply of premium tickets and hospitality experiences. So we're really optimistic about it. We think it's still a great platform for people to meet, for people to network, for people to experience things in the best environment that they can. So it's about really reminding people what sport and live entertainment really means, both in their lives. We need to sell the dream again, but also in business and in the commercial world as well, because it's a hugely compelling tool. And I think certainly on the live entertainment side, we're going to find that 2022 could be one of the best years, if not the best year that we've ever had for live entertainment. So if we can keep this virus away, then it should be a great year and a great way to reintroduce everybody to that experience.
Definitely going to be lots of pent-up demand. I think Tom McCann, I can see you want to take over next, so fire ahead.
Can do, yeah, sure. We're optimistic as well. I think, we have the benefit of being fan-led, and our fans are extremely loyal. We've tried to engage with them as much as we can during this enforced period. But we know just from the couple of matches that we did have back in December, where there was huge demand, and it was still a difficult time where lots of people were shielding and feeling perhaps more vulnerable than they will do when we come back. I think the onus on us is to provide an environment where people initially, certainly in the initial stages, where people feel safe and they feel comfortable coming back. That means making sure that all the various mitigation measures are in place, and we're working hard to do that. But all of the communication that we've had from and with our fans is that they're excited to come back. They can't wait to get back in the building. Certainly I agree with what Tom was saying, and that it will be a challenge for corporates, and certainly in the immediacy depending on what the various government regulations are around households meeting up and so on. But overall, I think there's a lot of optimism. And
Guy, last word to you.
Yeah, so I'm not going to repeat what Tom have said, because they picked on the key areas in terms of price sensitivity and protocols for customers. One thing I would say that through the memberships that we have and the customer relationships we have, we've used this period as an opportunity to demonstrate that being a premium customer means that they can be looked after on a direct customer relationship basis. So our team have been reaching out to those customers on a regular basis to update them on where we are in terms of business and the return to events planning as well, that they feel part of that, because customer reassurance in the new world is going to be so important for us. And what we've seen, actually, Tom saying 2022 is looking really busy. That we're really encouraged by that when the PM made his announcement, we saw a real spike in activity. So our phones have been red hot with promoters looking to route tours in 22, but actually we've been on sale with 1 or 2 shows before the PM announcement, and actually during the PM announcement when that's been made, and saw a spike in ticket sales during that, and also hospitality customers, premium customers wanting to start buying their memberships and packages for next year as well. So looking after the customers is a really key point as we move forward.
Well, we're looking forward to getting back to live, and thank you so much, guys. It's been great chatting to you all. Well, for Guy and the 2 Toms, this morning, and then for George and David, thank you so much for being with us. Good night. We'll let you sign off now. And if anyone has questions, obviously this is all being recorded as well, so you can go back and watch the session. And any questions you have for any of the panelists, just email me at katie@alsd.com and I'll forward them on. So thanks again, guys, and I'll hopefully see you all in person in Liverpool this September.